Hi, and welcome to the first of two videos as part of your preparation for you quitting smoking. I want to explain a general umbrella concept I use, which is called future shaping now. Neuroscientists consider now to exist for 2 to 3 seconds. The time it takes to pick this up, put it over there, is now. If I decide to go and pick it up, that's the future. Once I pick it up again, I'm back in the now. So how does this apply? Future shaping is about creating this future idea for yourself. Currently, you're a smoker. Your future is about being a non-smoker. And we have to shape and mold that future for you. But we want to bring it back to now, because once you've finished your sessions, every moment is the now. It's not that you're going to want a cigarette in the future. The moment you feel like a cigarette, if you were to, even from this second on, it's now. So we deal with the now. The general process I work with, I call the calm process. Calm is change accomplished by linking minds. So what we want to link is the conscious and the unconscious mind. Now, the thing I have to say about this first is the whole idea of conscious and unconscious is just a model. You can't go into the brain and find the conscious. You can't go in and find the unconscious. It's just a model to explain a great many things that happen. Now, we understand that consciously we can identify about 7 things at any time. Unconsciously, there's thousands and thousands of pieces of information coming at us. If you're driving your car down the road, you might see just 7 things. You're aware of the inside of your car coming at you, the lines, traffic, some trees or pedestrians, or an animal walking on the side of the road. If you were aware of the thousands and thousands of separate pieces of information coming at you, it would be overwhelming. You wouldn't be able to drive. It would be all too much. You wouldn't know where to look. So we have this model idea of a thing called a critical faculty, which is like a barrier that forms a gap between the conscious and the unconscious, and it stops all of this information. But the reality is that information is going in there, we're just not noticing it. Now, where this has an important role in our lives and when we want to change something is this. Let's say you want to make a change in your life, and it could be that you're going to start exercising tomorrow in a different form than you already do, and you already love exercise. Your conscious mind will decide it's going to exercise. That message will go to the unconscious, and generally it's in this frontal part, the prefrontal cortex, where we make decisions. And it searches through the files about exercise and says, yep, we love exercise. Let's get our shoes out. Let's get our clothes out. In the morning, you hop up and you go out and you exercise. But if you don't like exercise, you make a conscious decision. I'm going to exercise tomorrow. You wake up in the morning, you realize, well, I haven't got my clothes out. I didn't get my shoes out. Shoes are a bit old. They don't fit anymore. It's a bit cold. I'm very comfy in bed. The cat has to be fed. The dog has to be walked. The kids need to be looked after. Before you know it, you found 14 good reasons to stay in bed. This is what I call unconscious friction or resistance. So if you had no resistance to quitting smoking, you would just quit, as some people do. I've known people across my life who, upon hearing there was going to be an increase in cigarettes prices, they said, that's it, I'm not paying the government any more tax, and they just stopped and walked away. But most people have quite a bit of trouble, and it's because of all this resistance. It's because of the messages that have been fed in over time. It's hard to quit smoking. I'm addicted to smoking. Everybody says so. The cigarette companies say so. Even the government quit ads say, I may have to try several times. And everybody keeps giving you the same message. It's hard. And then there's the other messages you get about stress and boredom and relaxation and something to do with your hands at a party. And you find all of these reasons. You see, I think of the conscious like the captain of the ship sitting up there in the bridge. And the unconscious is down there. They're all the crew. And the captain decides to leave port and sends the message down, leaving port, full steam ahead. And nothing happens. All the crew are down there thinking, oh, I don't want to leave. We just want to have another night in port. There's more parties. There's more fun to be had, more drinking. And they don't cooperate. Our goal for linking minds is simply to get the captain and the crew operating together. Those two minds operating together with the same common goal to help you quit smoking. I often use the analogy of driving a wedge between that moment when you want a cigarette and the moment you actually have one, and just drive a wedge. And we drive it in there with these calm processes, these processes that link both the conscious and unconscious thoughts and feelings as they run through. What I find is people experience one of three things when they do this process. And remember, I'm linking calm and process into the conscious and unconscious all the time, is that you will remember every single thing I say, or you will barely remember anything I say, or something in between, and it's all good. Now, sometimes when I start talking about unconscious mind, sometimes people get a little concerned. They say, well, is this mind control? Are you going to take over my brain? And I actually had a guy say to me one day that he wanted to sit in on the session with his wife because I was going to get into his brain, or sorry, get into her brain. And maybe I got into his brain, I don't know. And I just said, okay, it's going to be pretty boring for you, but that's fine. I actually had to stop him playing games on his phone because I knew the phone could ring. What we're doing is simply having a chat. See, I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. It's not possible. If you do not want to quit smoking, I can't make you quit smoking. I can't force you to do anything. All we have is an agreement to work together on the day to help you quit smoking. And I do my part and you do your part. You have to come to it with a great willingness to succeed, an expectation of succeeding. So the whole conscious unconscious thing is really, it's kind of like a non-issue, really. The outcomes people experience, again, I see typically three things. About a third, let's just say a third roughly, because nobody ever has accurate statistics on this. I can never say that this is 93.5 successful on the first session. That's just not possible to gather that sort of data. Nobody ever has. So I won't make it up. But roughly a third of people, and I get this from feedback, they feel as if they've never had a cigarette in their life. They have no connection to smoking. They've just walked away. Feeling wonderful. Another third will have feelings of, they might be driving, they reach out for a cigarette, or they sitting there for their coffee, they reach for their smoke, they go, oh, I don't smoke. That's right, I remember now. And another third might have these feelings come in for different times. And this is where we have to use the strategies that you learn, the strategies that you will understand to keep driving that wedge. You see, we do that first session, then we do a consolidation session. And that's designed really for that last third of people to get to just absolutely solve any issues. but it's for everybody. I encourage everybody to do that session. I've had people who only want to spend 5 minutes on it, and other people we spend an hour, but it's there and it's available for you. A few things to think about is, again, and this applies to maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20% of people. There would be someone who has type 2 diabetes or has insulin resistance or is pre-diabetic at some level. They already have a compromised blood sugar ratio, blood glucose. Now, tobacco historically has been soaked in a concentration of 17% sugar to preserve it. And when you think about it, pretty much everywhere in the world that grows sugarcane can grow tobacco, and these things naturally found their way together. And when people smoke, and particularly if they smoke a lot and they stop, sometimes blood sugar can be a bit dysregulated. And as I say, this is a small percentage. So my solution is really simple, and it's apples. Get yourself a few apples before we do the session. Have one handy to eat now and then. So why apples? It's because the fruit of the apple contains fructose, which is the fruit sugar, and the peel contains fiber. And the peel slows down the delivery of the fructose, so you get a nice slow delivery through your system, and it will help maintain blood glucose. Weight is another issue people are concerned about when they quit smoking. And so I would say to you, have a look around at the smokers you know. Are they all stick thin? Well, no, they're not. You get thin smokers, you get overweight smokers, you get smokers who are in between. Smokers pretty much look like everybody else. So smoking doesn't automatically make anybody slim. A couple of cigarettes a day, you can say, well, it does, increase the adrenaline, it sparks my energy up, I might be thinking about eating. But if you're concerned about weight loss, think about this. All of those 2,000 odd chemicals that are entering your system when you light a cigarette through the combustion process, the nicotine, everything else, have to eventually pass through your liver. Now, your liver is the organ for breaking down fats. If you want to have a healthy liver and break down fats, you don't want to be piling extra chemicals into it. One of the things with weight loss we have to think about, and this is why I will be working with so many strategies with you, is so often when people just go cold turkey or whatever they do to decide to quit smoking, they simply transfer everything they were connecting to smoking across to food. They were thinking that smoking is going to reduce their stress. It doesn't, and I'll explain why soon, but they made that connection, so they put it across the food. And they just changed one problem for another. So we set out from the outset to avoid that problem. Now, I do sessions for weight loss, and that's a whole different thing and more in depth. But keeping in mind the apples, keeping in mind using the strategies so that you don't stress it. Boredom. There's an old song that says, boredom's a pastime that one soon acquires. And you get to the state where you're not even tired. I always like that song. Everybody gets bored. Smokers get bored, non-smokers get bored. If, as a smoker, you're thinking, what will I do when I'm bored? Look around at the world of non-smoking. What are they doing? You will either get bored or you'll find something to do. Smoking isn't a solution for boredom. Stress and anxiety. It's arguably the most common reason people tell me why they smoke. Stress and anxiety and a desire to relax. Have you ever experienced a time when you felt so stressed, so anxious, or seen somebody in this position who was chain smoking? Did you notice that they, after a few cigarettes, they suddenly became so relaxed, they just collapsed in a chair? Of course not. They just became more and more stressed as their anxiety just spiraled up and up. You have a couple of cigarettes, the cigarettes hit the dopamine center in the brain, the reward center, and you feel a little bit better. Then the nicotine travels down to the adrenals and pumps out adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone, and you feel worse. So you start off here, you get a little bit better, and then you get worse. You have another cigarette, and so on and so on. Pretty soon the brain throws up its defenses to stop that dopamine response, and all you're getting is a stress response. Simple message is that cigarettes do not resolve stress, do not resolve anxiety. You will simply continue to have that problem. Now, if you suffer from anxiety, within these strategies we're going to be doing, we're focusing on that. We'll be focusing on the day around anything to do with anxiety. I also do sessions based specifically to help people with anxiety as well. Breathing. Sometimes the only time a person takes a deep breath is when they smoke. And they miss that feeling. And sometimes they're not even aware that they miss that feeling. So we'll be talking about breathing. And I encourage you, even before you learn any of these strategies, which some will be on the next video, just take a few deep breaths. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself draw in that air and get in the habit of taking a few small breaths. Part of the habit of smoking is this. How many times have you done this in your life? How many times have you done it in the last week? So you want to replace something, because when you take the smoking away, there's a kind of a gap, a void. So a water bottle. If you're going to the party, hold a drink, cup of tea, do something. A water bottle is good. And for the next week, you have your water bottle, take tiny sips, mimic this action, get yourself nicely hydrated, and then you'll get over that problem fairly quickly. The last reason I hear commonly for smoking is it helps me to think, and I can take a break. I mentioned earlier there's about 2,000 chemicals hit the liver when you smoke. About 200 of those can cross into the brain, cross the blood-brain barrier, as it's called. So imagine this, you're trying to think and you enter 200 toxic chemicals into your brain. Well, that's not going to work. I can tell you what helps you to think. Stopping. You stopped and had a cigarette and considered what you were doing. That's what helped you to think. When you take a break, it's the break that helps you. It's not the cigarette. So I encourage you to find ways to take a break. Walk outside. Stare out the window. Have a cup of tea. Do something to just give yourself that break. Now you can possibly hear some noises in the back of the video at this point. Someone just drove a noisy trailer down the street. When we're doing the sessions, and these sessions are online, remember, sometimes people are concerned about noise. What if something happens? Well, I've done sessions with planes flying overhead, dogs bursting into the room, Harley Davidsons coming by. It doesn't matter. It won't interfere with us. So the situation doesn't have to be perfect in order for you to quit smoking successfully. So that's the end of this first video. Consider all of those things. We're going to be using the calm, thinking about getting your captain and your crew working, instead of fighting each other, to working together. Knowing that there are a variety of experiences that people have during the session, and they're pretty much all good. And afterwards, there are a variety of experiences, and they are either perfect or they need a little bit more management. And I'm here to help you manage them if that's what you need. And then all those reasons, stress and anxiety, we can put them aside, and weight issues and boredom and helping to think, and then the blood sugar one with the apple. So apples and water, have them handy. Great, thank you. I look forward to our next video.